In 2023 alone, there will be around 3 billion overnight stays in the European Union alone, much more if Europe as a whole is considered. Overtourism is literally destroying some wonderful European destinations. Few cities truly risk becoming open-air museums. Residents are fleeing historic centers, and the influx of tourists is increasingly driving up the cost of housing, making it less and less accessible to locals. Today, we'll discover 10 European cities at risk of being destroyed by overtourism. Comment other destinations you know. Welcome to this new video of Amazing Europe. Number 10. Venice, Italy. Living in Venice is becoming increasingly impossible. The tourism industry is consuming the heart of the city, turning it into a luxury dormitory. Every year, 1,200 residents flee, more than 3 per day. The city will soon find itself a hollow shell filled with resorts, vacation homes, and second homes. Venice is becoming less a city and more an open-air museum. This is evident from the fact that few tourists ask when the city closes, as if Venice is just a tourist attraction and not a real city with real residents. Venetians complained that their city was becoming increasingly chaotic and dirty. Consider that about 50 million plastic bottles are sold each year, many of which end up on the streets or in canals. Now trying to solve the problem. Anyone who wants to enter Venice now has to pay an entrance fee of €5. From August 2024, Venice will also limit the size of tourist groups, which should not exceed 25 people, and ban the use of loudspeakers by guides. In addition, after several incidents due to cruise ships coming too close to the shore, they have been banned from approaching the city. Number 9. Amsterdam, Netherlands. Amsterdam has also decided to ban cruise ships. Currently, 190 ships are allowed to dock at the passenger terminal Amsterdam, but it is expected that by 2026 this number will drop to a maximum of 100. By 2035, no ship will be able to dock in the capital. This is one of the ways the city council has found to limit the growth of tourism and combat the disturbance to residents. But in Amsterdam, the problem is not just the number of tourists, but also the type of tourism. Many tourists come to Amsterdam attracted by the red light districts and the places where cannabis can be consumed. An Amsterdam politician claims that some businesses misuse Amsterdam's image to sell it as a place of unlimited possibilities. Consequently, some tourists consider it a city where everything is allowed. The city council has decided to launch the online campaign, Stay Away. With this campaign, when users search Google for queries like Amsterdam Bachelor Party, Cheap Hotel Amsterdam, and Pub Crawl Amsterdam, they are shown ad videos created to show the risks and consequences of disruptive behavior and excessive alcohol and drugs use in Amsterdam. Number 8. Santorini, Greece. Not only large cities, but also small towns and small islands are at risk of being destroyed by overtourism. An example is Santorini. This wonderful island is famous for its white houses and breathtaking views. For a few years, its inhabitants have been sounding the alarm. Santorini has 15,500 residents, but every weekend in the summer of 2024, it welcomed over 17,000 visitors. In 2023, this small island welcomed over 3 million tourists and 800 cruise ships. The president of the municipality of Fira, the island's capital, even invited residents to stay indoors to avoid the excessive crowd. He made this appeal through a post on social media, but then quickly deleted it, as this cannot be the solution. The mayor then decided to limit the number of cruise ships. Now only 8,000 tourists per day from cruise ships can disembark on the island. Additionally, they want to stop the opening of new accommodations in Santorini, both in large hotels and rentals on platforms like Airbnb. Number 7. Paris, France. Paris is the most uncivilized city in the world, according to tourists, according to two international studies. Paris seems to have a love-hate relationship with tourists. In 2023, it was visited by 15.5 million people, who bring wealth but also many difficulties. Experts say the city's severe housing crisis is partly due to landlords choosing to rent homes short-term to tourists rather than long-term to residents. But Paris is not the only French city affected by overtourism. Etretat's beaches swell with tourists for the Netflix series Lupin. Now 1,200 residents welcome 10,000 tourists a day in high season. Experts say this massive flow could endanger the mountain. Not to mention Mont Saint-Michel dealing with hit-and-run tourism. Here, the peaks reach 36,000 tourists per day, all concentrated in the high season and from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The French government has decided to monitor the situation across France, but a French minister said, "France is the biggest tourist destination in the world, but we have a serious lack of data to manage the crowds." Number 6. Hallstatt, Austria. One cause of Hallstatt's overtourism is its inclusion on the UNESCO World Heritage List. However, it seems that the main causes are Instagram and the resemblance of this village to the town in Disney's Frozen. Consider that in China, an exact replica of Hallstatt was made, testifying to the love tourists have for this small Austrian village. But not all Hallstatt residents love tourists. They certainly bring wealth, but also many inconveniences. After all, it is impossible not to have inconveniences if Hallstatt has fewer than 1,000 inhabitants, but more than 1 million tourists a year. Here, residents have put up banners to remind that people live in this village, and anti-selfie barriers have also been erected. Limits have also been set for parking, which can accommodate a maximum of 350 cars and 40 buses a day. Previously, up to 90 buses would arrive daily. Additionally, residents have organized a market in a somewhat secret place to remain undisturbed by tourists. Since tourism also leads to rising prices, a market is held weekly on the outskirts of the village where affordable groceries can be bought. It is a way for residents to feel like a community and not just an open-air museum. Number 5. Barcelona, Spain. In July 2024, thousands of people took to the streets in Barcelona to protest against overtourism in their city. Some banners read, "Barcelona is not for sale. Go back home." The protest stemmed from the skyrocketing cost of housing in Barcelona, which has risen by 68% over the past 10 years. Some used water guns against tourists sitting outside restaurants on the busiest streets. To combat this phenomenon, the mayor said she wants to increase the tax for cruise tourists who stay in the city for less than 12 hours. Additionally, she announced that in the coming years, the licenses for over 10,000 apartments currently rented short-term to tourists will not be renewed. By 2029, there will only be traditional hotels or bed and breakfasts in the Spanish city. Also, to combat overtourism, a bus line disappeared from Google Maps in April 2024 because too many tourists prevented residents from boarding the public transport. Number 4. Rome, Italy. An Italian journalist stated that Rome has long ceased to be the capital of Italy and has become a gigantic amusement park. Swarms of tourists have turned it into a playground. The city center is traversed day and night by strange contraptions, sidecars, golf carts. The scooters that Paris has rightly banned go the wrong way down narrow streets. One of the most affected monuments is the Spanish Steps. This staircase gained worldwide fame in 1953 thanks to its appearance in the romantic film Roman Holiday with Audrey Hepburn. Since then, the staircase, located in front of the Spanish Steps, has become a must-see for tourists who have caused progressive deterioration. The 135 steps are marred by wine stains and chewing gum residues. In 2016, $1.68 million were spent to clean and restore the staircase. Now, sitting on the steps is prohibited, and violators can be fined up to $448. The Colosseum is another monument suffering from over-tourism. Some tourists have stolen pieces of the structure, while others have carved their names into the ancient monument's walls or committed other acts of vandalism and graffiti. Number 3. Dubrovnik, Croatia. According to the State of Tourism and Hospitality 2024 report, Dubrovnik is the world's most crowded city due to tourists, considering tourist density per square kilometer. The city has a population of just over 41,000 and welcomed nearly 1.5 million tourists in 2019. This equates to about 36 tourists per resident. In 2017, UNESCO advised the city to not admit more than 8,000 visitors at a time into the historic city, but this has not been done. Noise generated by too many tourists is also a serious problem. The City Council is considering developing a luggage deposit system at the entrance of the historic center. Visitors can pay to have their luggage delivered to their accommodation by silent electric vehicles. Additionally, during evening hours, street musicians, bars, and restaurants cannot exceed 55 decibels. By 2030, this small city is expected to see a further 70% increase in the number of tourists. Part of the success is also due to the fact that some scenes from the Game of Thrones series were filmed in this city. Number 2. Athens, Greece. Athens welcomed 7 million tourists in 2023, causing considerable inconvenience to residents. The main problem is that over-tourism is radically transforming the face of the city. Athens' neighborhoods are changing day by day. Over-tourism is pushing residents of the historic center to leave their homes. Housing prices for residents are increasing more and more, and it is increasingly difficult for Greeks to find a home in Athens. Many neighborhoods, such as Koukaki, are now only occupied by tourists, transformed into large areas of short-term rental apartments. Yet all these tourists do not bring much wealth into the pockets of Athenians. The mayor of Athens revealed that each visitor brings an average of 0.4 euros to an Athenian. To address over-tourism, it was decided to introduce a daily visitor limit to the Acropolis of Athens. A maximum of 20,000 tourists distributed in 3 time slots can enter each day. This measure is also planned to be extended to all archaeological sites in the country with electronic tickets. Number 1. Iceland. We conclude our ranking not with a city, but with a nation. Over-tourism in Iceland does not yet have all the negative effects we described in other places, but we decided to include this country in our ranking as it is the latest European destination reported to be at risk of over-tourism. For this reason, local authorities are already taking measures before it's too late. Understandably, tourism is very important for Icelanders. Consider that in 2023, the tourism sector represented 8.5% of the country's GDP. Iceland has a population of just over 380,000 inhabitants and is expected to be visited by 2.3 million people by the end of 2024. Several Icelandic natural sites are at risk of being damaged by over-tourism. One of them is a canyon made famous by a Justin Bieber video, and since then has been overrun by tourists. In 2019, it remained closed for the entire spring to allow the restoration of trails that had turned to mud because of visitors. However, some in Iceland want even more tourists. For example, 2 Icelandic mayors have complained to Google of the satellite photos showing their villages perpetually covered in snow. This, they argue, reduces tourists' expectations and discourages them from visiting those places. There are many other places in Europe seriously damaged by over-tourism. Write in the comments other cities you know to be victims of this phenomenon. If you found this video interesting, we recommend the one on the European cities considered rudest by tourists. You can find it in the top right of the screen. That's all for this video. See you next time.